Hello, Barons, and welcome to our Masters Wrap podcast. Delighted to be joined by the caddy to the stars and knower of all things Masters, Dion Kipping. Apparently now it's Dion Kipping because you're a bit of a big deal. Kippa, welcome on board.
Oh, yeah. Good to be here, Phil.
Now, our Masters Wrap, we're going to take this in a slightly different direction than normal. We're just going to go through some Masters hits or misses and some hits, and so I'm just, again, I'm going to throw stuff at you, and if you don't know anything about it, there's a fair chance I'm going to speak anyway.
I thought you were going to say you've taken it in a different direction and it was going to be informative or something. So, no?
Wow. Kipper, the big deal, goes whack early on.
Hey, it's on me as much as it's on you.
All right. Now, let's just start with the negative. Let's start with some of the misses. What were your thoughts on Faldo's destroyation of a key moment in the last round?
It's, you know what it reminded me of? It's like, when you've got this wonderful secret and you've been told specifically don't tell anyone, right? And it's a part of you that has to, right? You go, oh, look, I've been told not to tell, don't tell anyone else, but here's the secret, right? He's just done that to about 20 million people. That's all.
Well, he's made you wonder whether or not when you're watching like if you're actually at the Masters live and you happen to be streaming it on your phone, what the delay is. Because every time, they're like, oh, he's got a 40-foot putt. Oh, this is a chance. The only reason they know it's a chance is because they've already seen it go in and they've got to try and back announce it.
I got an invite into the CBS truck in 2000 must have been 7, right? And honestly, it was incredible, Phil. Like you go in there and this truck is, those the expander caravans that expand out from the sides. Well, that's like this truck, and it's got 1 billion TVs and 1 billion, workers in there. And there was the director, I forget his name, but he was incredible. He was like a conductor. And he's like, screen 21, screen 15, like just yelling. And these screens would come up, and then he would yell and bark orders at Nance and whoever else was commentating about what had just happened and what to kind of preempt. So Tigers hold out, yell at Nance. And then Nance and then you hear Nance's, so here we are at the 16th. And then when Tiger, he's like, so it was quite a shock because I didn't know that it was, it's partly delayed. I mean, I guess of course it has to be, but it's not much delayed, but enough for the big burly guy in the truck to be yelling orders.
As someone pointed out quite rightly on social media, rather than Faldo reporting the goosebumps that he felt, it would have been nice for us to just feel them. But what a muppet. Anyway, moving on to that. Next miss. Now, Spieth, it turns out that I may be really crap at my tips. I
think we all
Jim,
are.
I'll get onto that. But Jim McLean, coached to the stars, just to do a caddy to the stars, and one of the most respected and biggest coaches in certainly North American golf, made this comment. I don't know, did you see that about Spieth?
No.
Making us, how we're talking about his swing changes and how difficult it is and how pros have to over-exaggerate things to get changes done. Well, apparently, according to McLean, he was making a spectacle of himself, seeking out attention and deliberately, did it in the center of the fairway rather than somewhere removed. Now, isn't the whole point of watching someone battle with swing changes making us feel more involved in what he's going through as opposed to this snobby, oh, no, you've got to hide it. Oh, if you've got a disability, no, you've got to go in that entrance.
Yeah, right.
Am I missing the point?
I obviously didn't hear that that comment, but it's a bit of a strange one. Geez, I hope Jim isn't getting old and senile and starting to make weird comments because, it's what happens. People start making weird comments about stuff that they would have never talked about before. Like if a player's trying to make a swing change, kudos to him. Doesn't matter where he's doing it.
And then I become president.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Look, I just saw it as a guy, trying his heart out to achieve something. So I don't think there's anything in it, no matter where you do it, whether it's the middle of the fairway, the end, or the locker room. What difference does it make?
Okay, so caddies. Let's move on to caddies. What impact did it make on Scheffler? And this is a miss because obviously I've got a whack caddy somewhere.
Oh, yeah.
What impact would it have made on Scheffler, the fact that Ted Scott had won there twice as a caddy?
Look, I don't reckon all that much necessarily because, it's the rapport you've got with the player at the time. And he's obviously on fire with Ted over the last, couple of months. So I think it was more that he's comfortable with the decision-making and all the rest of it with Ted now. You also got to think about who he caddied for when he won those other two. I mean, Bubba Watson is starting it out in the right trees or left trees and hooking it 100 metres, and he's hitting sand wedge from 200 metres with a low draw, so extraordinarily different take on how he would have navigated around the course. But I guess is a air of confidence in someone knowing that you've also done it before. So maybe there was a bit of that and all the rest of it. But geez, when you just keep winning like he is, I think you've just got the greatest feel over every week anyway. It doesn't matter where you play.
Yes. So if we then move on to the negatives of caddies, so Shane Lowry had a bit to say. Yeah, but Shane Lowry had a bit to say. I don't know whether you saw
that.
You left me no shot, Bo. 30 yards out. You hang on. Left myself no. What? In fact, I'm gonna filter this. What a hurricane shaped layup that was. Well done, Bo. Only 30 yards out. Well done. How difficult is it as a caddy, in general, needing to communicate with people? But secondly, when you've got to predict a yardage and a run out, and on 13, when you're trying to lay up and you're coming down the side of the hill, you've got to predict how much that ball's going to run out. How do you do that, or is that just where you say, you know what, I'm going to be a failure, I've just got to be prepared to own it?
Well, no, you got to be a failure to be a caddy anyway, so that's part of it. But no, I think part of the equation there is, most of the time you've got, you've had goes at different sections of the course during practice. So that run out on 13, if you get on the high side of that fairway and have to chip across the slope or whatever it might be, you should have done that during the week anyway. Now, the greens will change a bit by Sunday compared to Wednesday or Tuesday when you might be out there doing it, but you should have a fair idea of how it's going to react anyway. It's what a practice round's for. It's not about putting your ball in every perfect location. It's about sometimes putting it where you might end up where you don't want to be. And so therefore you should have a rough idea of what's going on all around the track and how the ball's going to react.
Is 30 yards therefore a bit of a miss for a caddy? I mean, how would Allenby have reacted had you missed a point by 30?
Yes, I've got a real life story about that one. I gave what did Shane call it? A horrendous. What did he? Anyway, I gave one
a hurricane shaped layup.
Yeah, I got one wrong once. Where were we? I forget where we were, but anyway, it was a par 5, and we couldn't get there, and so it was all layup zone. And Rob loved about 105 yards, 90 sort of 7 odd meters or thereabouts, 95 meters. He just loved that yardage. So I'm like, I knew that. I did the math, did everything, and so we talked about what he had to hit to get to that zone, and it was it was about a 3-iron or something like that. Anyway, he hits this thing, and as he hits it, I feel a little breeze on the back of the neck, and I'd flagged that the breeze was slightly into. And if you get a slight switch like that, the breeze into to the breeze down, it can mean a significant amount. Well, on a fairway, you times that by heaps because the ball runs. So he's got about an extra 10 to 15 in carry than I predicted, plus the run-on effect of a ball down breeze versus getting spinny and stopping on a fairway. So I've given him at least an extra 30 to 40 meters down.
That's what I need. You should caddy for me.
Yeah, and anyway, I as he hit it, I thought, it might sit soft, it might be all right. And anyway, we got down there, and dead set, I was real closer to it than. And having known that it was downwind, we should have went for the green. So did I hear it? There was nothing in front of the green. We could have went for it, and then the yardage we had to a tight pin was impossible, and we took 6 because he tried to go at it, put it in the front track, and. Yeah, so I know all too well how that feels, and your heart sinks because you've had a mischief, but it wasn't intentional. It's about the only comeback you've got,
and wasn't live at the Masters, and wasn't on global coverage. And poor old Bo just was Bo was a shell of himself.
Yeah, you tend to go a little quiet after that, but yeah, I did have a giggle at it. I'm like, yeah, that's the one time on Sunday you don't want to be doing mischiefs.
Yeah. Let me ask you now. This is a slight positive about caddies.
Yeah.
Are caddies so Minwoo Lee was on the charge and on 13 hits driver in the water. Well, not really on the charge, but he was flying, and we'll get to that in the hits. Hits it in the water, takes a drop, penalty drop. As Kipper, if you are his caddy, would you have allowed Minwoo Lee to hit it in the water twice? Or is this the point where you would have spoken up, as you referred to in our pre-masters podcast, rather than keeping quiet?
Look, to be fair, like he had no chance of winning it unless he goes berserk, doesn't he? So there's a bit of caution to the wind there where you're like, well, you know what, dare to be great, have a go, and if it doesn't come off, what's the difference between finishing, 15th and 40th? It really doesn't make much difference. But if you
invite back.
Yeah, exactly right. If he's going to finish in top 10, then it's top 12 now, isn't it?
Yeah, it's top 12. He was one shot off an invite back.
Yeah. So
he'll go back anyway, let's be honest.
Yeah. But I guess what I'm getting at is that you got to know when to hold them and fold them. And I remember asking Phil that once, because I was a really young little caddy. I was only 20 odd years of age, and we played a practice round. Excuse me. We played a practice round with him, and I asked him straight out, like I said, Phil, you make so many recovery shots. Do you ever chip out? Do you ever take it, safe? And he said, it's a hard one. He goes, because I like being aggressive and I do back myself a lot from a situation. He said, but if I legitimately think I can't pull a shot off, he goes, that's when I will back down. But he goes, if I think I can pull a shot off, he goes, it really doesn't make much difference if it's in the center of the fairway or if I'm moving around the tree because I've got the confidence to do so. So he he kind of basically was saying, look, I've got the shot anyway. It doesn't matter if there's a tree in front of me. I can hit this shot. So most of these guys and girls can hit the shots that they want. So it's not the biggest of gambles. But if it's a yardage where you have to get everything right. Do you remember when Daly took 14 at the Australian Open in whatever time? Yeah. He just hit 7 balls in the water or something. Well, that's the air of stupidity, isn't it? When you really can't get there, but you just got to, you got an ego.
So that's stupidity. But 230 yards out, roping hook onto a, what is ostensibly an island green. I know it's not quite on 30.
Yeah.
But it's a shot you just go for. I looked at that and I thought, I wonder if the caddy has allowed, if that is a moment, and you've explained it really well. I wondered if that is a moment where a caddy speaks up or whether a caddy shuts up. And it's up to the caddy, because there was a vibe going on, but he was coming off bogeys on 10, 11 and 12.
Mm.
So the horse had kind of, not bolted, but...
Yeah, and I think in that instance, I would have 100% been, if he's even remotely got the up and about confidence, I would have backed him in 100%. Said, let's take it on, because if you don't make eagle here, you got no chance of getting right into the hunt. So you don't probably start thinking about top 10s and invites back at that point. I wouldn't have thought.
Yes, okay.
So it's just either win or go home. But yeah, and that is honestly, the biggest challenge anyway. Stevie Williams said that to me in the early days. He said, look, these guys are good enough to go and shoot 6 and 7 under anywhere in the world and not have you around. He said they don't need a caddy to play great golf. They need a caddy to allow them to play great golf. And that's pretty true, because if you think that you're the difference out there, you're not. It's just you're helping them be as good as they are. You're just trying to I guess, allow them to be great and not get in their way and not let themselves get in their way.
Yeah, okay. Good point. So next up, whinges. I've got a little whinges section here. So I was amazed, and we touched on this the other day when we had a chat. I was amazed when Schwartzel on 12 hits one that almost flew the mountain behind 12. Like it was 150 metres too long, because, again, he must have got a bad yardage from Bo, who called it out from over the fairway. Yet doesn't reflect positively on the fact that it rolled back down the hill almost onto the green. Yet when the putt doesn't break the way he thought, he starts crying like a baby. What's with this sooking?
Look, all I can say is that because when I was caddying, I never really sooked up about anything because you're kind of devoid of emotion. You just, you're riding all of the technical stuff and trying to, I guess make your player play as well as you can without making a mistake. When you're a player, I don't know about you, but I do get emotive, right? I do get sooky. I do, so it's an art not to. It's an art to harness your emotions. And maybe when the ball went long, he wasn't thinking, shit, I could have taken 8 there. He's just thinking, what happened? And rather than it's bounced back 15 yards and I've got as lucky as I can get. And then when he's missed that little putt, he might be thinking, geez, my chances of winning this thing are slightly slipping now, because he was kind of thereabouts again.
It was.
But just need that aiming corner and that stretch home. You need to start making a run if you're behind. And maybe it was just a realisation that there goes another one, Charles.
Yes, no, yeah, good point. So then Tyrell Hatton, I don't know whether you caught up on his.
You're going to have to fill me in a bit here. I did see something about him having an absolute Barney, and then the old Twitters and whatnot went berserk and told him to grow up, but I didn't see it.
So I've got a misquoted quote here from Tyrell. But I'm not sure whether it's accurate or inaccurate. So that's part of the conversation. If you hit a good shot, you should end up near the hole, not then short-sighted into a bunker because of the slopes that they've created and stuff. And I think the thing that threw me was the and stuff. Or and stuff. I'm not sure whether it's and stuff or and stuff. Is that Suki Lala, or is that actually a brutally honest assessment of Augusta?
No. There's so much about that statement that's utterly ridiculous. Like, if you hit a good shot, you're not allowed to have slopes on the green. The greens have got slopes, mate. You're not allowed to get a bad bounce or a hard bounce or a soft bounce. No, that's the art of golf. That's golf. Oh, gold. It's not darts, mate. You're not throwing it and sticking it. Look, I think sorry, I just lost it here because that's golf. I just can't believe that he's actually said that. Every green's like this. No, but I think Augusta can get to you a little bit because, especially on Sunday, if the greens, they weren't that fast and hard on Sunday, to be brutally honest, but they've been way worse than that. But if they do get hard and fast and they put pins in, tough spots, it can make you look silly. It really can, because the ball just continues to roll and roll and roll and roll, and you can feel like there's nowhere to hit it. And that's what that course does, I think, better than anywhere in the world. It makes you feel claustrophobic. It's like, I haven't got a shot here. And yet the green's 40 yards wide, and, but you feel like you haven't got a shot. And I guess that's the beauty of the track, is it makes you think and then maybe overthink what wouldn't have been such a challenging thought process had you not seen all these balls running all over the joint and the train wreck that ensued. So I think he's just feeling the wrath of a tough week. But to claim that a ball shouldn't roll on a green and have undulations is, I don't know, you might be playing the wrong sport.
Would it be fair to say that Tyrell and Royal Melbourne wouldn't get along?
Well, with that comment, I don't know where he's going to play. Maybe the Honda Classic. I think I've pretty flat greens.
That's Ireland and Scotland out, isn't it? I mean, in reality, it's like he's removed a number. He's removing continents.
Exactly right. I love it. I didn't know that's what he said. That's honestly, mate, that's made me day.
I'm glad I could contribute. Now, onto really important issues. Yeah. Underachievers.
Oh, yeah.
So who let us down the most during the Masters? Who really let us down the most? Because I've got a few names if you don't come up with them.
Look, I'm a bit confused at the old Rahm and even DJ of late. I really am. Like, those two, rewind a year ago, I mean, they were almost so far ahead of the rest of the world in terms of their play. I don't know. It's just they've seemed to just really drop off back to a very mediocre position where they just weren't. They were so far ahead. So those two, for me, I'm not sure what's going on. Maybe they've got major hangovers. I don't know.
Or maybe this is the impact of Tiger, is that he's messed with their head so much that they can't. They either get on runs or they go missing. And Cameron Champ's a great example. Like Cameron Champ's, and it's great to see him back. And was not in contention, and this is the interesting thing about the Masters. Was never in contention, but based on the numbers or based on the result, you would say he contended like someone else. But I'll get on to Rory in a minute. But Koepka, who I did make the call before the Masters that I think he might be struggling to adjust to his a new golf ball, but on the basis of nothing other than just, I mean, I also thought that Spieth would win, so I wouldn't listen to me too much. Schauffele, I thought Schauffele would. I mean, there's got to be a point where there's some fight. For now, Newman, who was in it and just again made a couple of poor decisions.
Yeah, well, I think actually, is it Joaquin? Is that how you pronounce it?
That'll do.
I still rated his week, to be honest. I thought he had a go all week. He tried hard. He made a few errors, and you do that around there, but he never gave up. And I think he actually played all right. It was a fair week from him.
Okay.
But some of the others you mentioned, I just maybe yet again we've just been super spoiled. I suppose like the last 25 years, we've seen a guy dominate, and like maybe no other person ever has. So when a person gets to world number one and then loses it in 5 or 6 weeks, we're like, what happened there? But we're just so used to these greats, like, your Norman's holding it for 200 and something weeks, and then the Tigger's holding it for forever and so on. I don't know, maybe we're just over expecting of these guys because they just don't perform every single week like Tiger did.
It's a really good point about expectation, because I've got a bloke who I reckon the minute there is no expectation lights it up. And I was quite offended with the interview that Bellionis did with Rory, where she even implied that he was a contender. And in fact, the question was, with 4 holes to go and Stifler having hit it to 4 feet on 14, or 5 holes to go, and Stifler's hit it to 4 feet with a 5-shot lead over Rory, or 4-shot lead over Rory, she's given it do you think you've done enough to win? It's Rory. The only reason he played well is because no one gave a shit and they forgot that he actually existed.
Well, he plays really well freely, like, and he does that at will, doesn't he? Like every time that he sort of gets on a roll, and as you say, he's almost behind by too much. There's that carefree kid attitude that I think he used to have, but the difference is Rory 5 years ago versus Rory now. Like he used to be leading events and doing that. Now he kind of, the foot has to be come off the pedal in the early rounds for him to get into a headspace where he, I guess, can free it up. That could be a range of things. I don't know if it's a mental thing or whether it's just that his game isn't as good. Not sure, but there's definitely some merit where I'd love to see the stats on his 3rd and 4th rounds compared to his 1st and 2nd rounds. Got to be, and the course usually set up harder, 3rd and 4th rounds, not the 1st and 2nd. So there's merit in that. And yes, he was no chance. He was never any chance. Well, having said that, after he eagles 15, if he goes 4 or 5 under from there, no, you're like, no. No, he eagled 13, did he? 13?
He eagled 13.
Eagled 13 to get to 6, didn't he?
And Makikawa,
at that point, or 6 or 7. And so if he goes 4 or 5 under from there, he's got a chance. But, no one had a chance. That's the thing. That was what was so really
contending.
Smitty getting close on 2, and then the chip in from Scotty. It just, the guy was just ice. So no, Rory didn't have a chance. Smitty did, but no one else.
But not only that, so Rory then gets all this high praise of here comes Rory, and then obviously Feldo ruins the moment for the world. And there's a quote here from an esteemed colleague of ours, young shooter, which I think was quite apt.
What's he
a
said?
White man dancing to hip hop. Rory's celebration when he held out of the bunker like a white man dancing to hip hop.
Oh, I got to be honest, I giggle my ass off watching that celebration because I don't know what it was. It's like a mid-air karate chop. It was tremendously confronting. That's the best way I can put it. Like, because for me, it ruined the moment. Like he's holding out an amazing moment, and then I'm like, oh, hang on, what was that?
There's a lot of kung fu fighting. There is 70s disco in his history, except he was the guy at the back dancing so no one could see him.
That's right, which made me have even more of a giggle when I thought about it. Imagine he won as many times as Tiger and some clutch putts down the stretch. What would have we saw? Like, it certainly wouldn't be one of those stenciled pictures you see of Tiger fist pumping on billboards. No, they couldn't put Rory's move on a billboard. No, sir.
Well, I tell you what, if you don't want to see him celebrate, let's continue to have expectations on him going into every major, because then there'll be no chance that we'll ever have to worry about it. Because the minute there is expectation, he cannot. But he's an unbelievable player, like incredible. But the minute there is expectation on him, he doesn't cope so well because of that. And the minute there is no expectation, he's a crowd pleaser.
Yeah, but I reckon he can change that. He's still got time. He's still swings are good enough. He went through that little patch of, well, what I'd call stupidity, where he's trying to change his swing to get extra yardage because Bryson did so. So I think he'll mature a bit more now, and he's because there's not as many people dwarfing the field on a weekly basis. I think he's got an opportunity over the next 4 or 5 years to just wind himself back into being Rory, which is all he ever was 5 or 7 years ago. So no, I think there's hope for the lad.
Yeah, I agree. One question I've got: did Cam Smith sit on the 10th tee and say to himself, "I wonder what Norman would do here"?
Nah.
No, and then the same thing on 12. He's just sitting there going, "Geez, I wonder what Norman would do."
Here's my take on this. 10T can get you anyway because you're trying to play a sling draw and it's just a small error and away you go and it overdraws. That wasn't a bad shot in any. It just was an overdraw, big deal, right? Takes 5. What could he do? But the one on 12, and I'd love to chat to him about this. Is I reckon he was trying to bite off more and even maybe stiff it. That's what I reckon. 100%. I'd love to chat to him about it. I'd love to know if he was honestly aiming over the middle of that trap and trying to hit it to 25, 30 feet, or if he was trying to stiff it. I think he was trying to stiff it because even the way he lined up and the shot shape he tried to hit, it was almost like, remember the block he hit at TPC to 3 feet? Right?
Yeah.
Well, he was aiming left there, excuse me again, and blocked it slightly and obviously stiffed it. This was different. He was aiming. He definitely wasn't aiming on the left edge of that trap. He was aiming further right than that, and I reckon he was going for it. And I reckon he thought the time is now. I could be completely wrong, and I'd love to chat to him about it. But he made a crappy swing and he fatted it and blew it out to the right, and the rest was history. But I think he actually was having a go, and that's different than being, Norman on 16 where he fatted it and went in the water. It's a completely different issue. So no, I don't think Cam was anywhere close to the Gregory on these things.
No, I agree completely.
Let's win this thing.
This is that idea of hunting. Like he's very comfortable in both roles. This is why we love Cam Smith, with an Australian bias, is that as is Scheffler, completely comfortable being hunted or being the hunter. And that's a trait that, and no, I'm not saying they're as good a players as Tiger, but it's a trait that Tiger had. Is that if I'm winning, I want to win by more. And if I'm not winning, they're wondering where I'm coming. Because as you said, Kipper, in your live cross during the Masters when you were dominating the airwaves, and we will get onto that, he's got birdies to burn. He makes birdies. And so one more birdie might have been the difference were Scheffler not to actually have been.
No, and he could have went on a real run there as well, I reckon. Like, he would have backed himself for the next few holes making birdies and then 15 as well. So I think it was a moment for him. And it didn't work out, but I reckon he had the guts to have a go at 12 pin. But I don't know. That's just my
we'll never know. And now doubles and triples in the last round, just to move on and to finish off with the misses. Mm-hmm. Doubles and triples in the last round. So Feldo with his goosebumps comment. I mean, that's a triple, if not a quadruple bogey. You got Thomas. So these are the contenders. So Thomas makes double on 12 with what he might argue he was also trying to hit it at the pin, but looked like a shank to me. Plus his pants, as Shooter said, should actually be burnt. Smith, obviously he makes triple on 12. Lowry makes triple on 4. To just kill any momentum early. And I love Lowry. Versus Stifler, who gets out of position on 3, chips in, and then the day before on 18, he makes 5 with an unplayable on 18. Like, it's just, they're the differences.
Yeah, it is. That chip, I don't know how much was talked about in the media over the last 24 hours or so, but that chip on 3, that changed everything. Like everything. Because he was hitting it sideways up until then. He talked later on about his extreme nerves and his inability to even feel like he was, should be there the night before and so on. So, take 5 there, or it comes back to his feet, or I just could see a capitulation going on. But instead, holes it. It was probably going 10 or so foot past as well, and just an absolute momentum changer, belief changer, and then he played flawlessly again. So yeah, the dude well and truly deserved it.
Particularly when Smith, then leaves his second shot short and then chips it well past and ends up making.
That's what I mean.
It was just too big a shift at the exact wrong time. Again, Cam was trying to hole it and to be aggressive, so he'll never hear it. We'll never hear a negative word out of us about Cam Smith. But it was just those sliding door moments of Scheffler doing what it took, as he continued to do. Now we get to go on to some positives, and I just need to get one off my chest. I might have had a go at this guy a few times, but I've also been incredibly impressed with his strategic approach to what he needed to do in the game, and that's Bryson. But here's something I did not know about Bryson until I saw it on social media. Bryson followed Tiger.
Did he?
Bryson went out having missed the cut and followed Tiger Woods playing.
Did he?
And when asked why, he said, because how many more opportunities am I going to get to do it? He's the greatest of all time. Like Bryson, this is called how to move, in my eyes, from a 6 to a 9 in one simple action. Yeah,
that's well, I didn't know that. And not as silly as it sounds, because you learn every time you watch the great man. Like, I mean, he was. It was actually a bit sad for me to watch. To be fair, like his swing is so different now. It's you can see him battling and all the rest of it, and for him to be as good as he still is unbelievable. But yeah, I'm not sure where to from here for Tigger. I just hope he gets stronger in the leg, and he can rotate a little bit better and all the rest of it, because it's going to be tough for him. To get by like that, I think, for the next few years. But it's early in the rehab, so maybe it's still some big gains to come. But for Bryson to get out there and watch and learn, that's pretty cool. I didn't know that.
I think it's amazing, and actually says a lot and about him as a human and how his mind works. And the mockery of, oh, you're trying to destroy golf. No, where the whole time he was saying, I love it, and I think he does, because who else does that? I mean, who else, like, knowing that there's a mockery of, for me, it's a par 67, the comment that he made, 18 months ago about Augusta, and then being beaten by Larry Myers. But to then front up and say, I'm allowed to be a fan. Like, I'm allowed to be a player, but I'm allowed to be a fan and follow the GOAT. Anyway, I thought it was pretty cool. One other thing for me, the Masters app, the most installed and uninstalled app in the history of the world in the space of a week, period. I discovered, unfortunately, after 2 days, that it's every shot without commentary.
Yeah, there's so many things about that app that are wonderful, and it sums up Augusta as well. It's simplicity, isn't it? I go onto the PGA Tour app, and I mean, I know they're an enormous beast, and I get that. But because they're an enormous beast, there's just that much on there. It's incredible. You can't find a score. Whereas, the Masters app I got onto a few years ago, I remember downloading it, and there was a section. I'm not sure if there is still this section there, but there was a historical video section. And because they own the rights to every bit of footage that's ever out there, you never see anything, especially the past, like players, greats, and that. They own everything. So if you ever get a chance and have got that button on there, go in and have a look. It is some of the greatest golfing footage of all time. And you just click on it and you watch, the Masters have gone by, and it is incredible. I was in there for hours one day, just watching all these videos. So no, the app, I'll probably uninstall this week as well, but it'll be back. It'll be back.
Well, that's the thing, is that I uninstalled it and reinstalled it because there were a few more shots that I wanted to see, and then I uninstalled it again. But it's like it's a gift that anytime I want, I can just go and reopen it, and it's like I'm opening it for the first time.
Yeah, do it well.
The idea of family, there are a couple of things. The idea of family at the Masters, the Stewart Sink hole-in-one, like the par 3 contest for a start, but then the Stewart Sink hole-in-one with his lad caddying for him. What's your thoughts on the par 3 contest alone as a celebration?
Well, I think yeah, I love it, but also just think that the way they do things there, that golf is celebrated. That's what's celebrated, and everything that comes with golf. And anyone that plays it knows that your family's involved, whether they want to be or not, with golf, because they either miss you because you're gone for 5 or 7 hours on a Saturday, or they're a part of it, and they come out and play with you. So either way, golf is a family sport, and the way that it's such a big part of Augusta. Like I absolutely love that. I really do. They make you feel special. I remember going to numerous PGA Tour events where, as a caddy in early days, and I'm talking early 90s to 2000, you were lucky to get in the front door. It was as in the front gate of the facility. You were just really pushed back at arm's length. No one wanted to know you or talk to you. You were given no food. You had no toilets. You're like second-rate citizens. Okay, and then that was sort of similar for the families. They were nowhere near as confronting as what the caddies had to put up with. But where the big shift came was they started to realise that players were going to events because their family could enjoy it. So I remember going to Canada one time, and the kids and the wives and whoever else they were staying with them, the grandparents or whoever would want to come to the event, the PGA Tour started to put on, events for them, and also things they could do. So they would have chopper rides to mountains. They would have bus trips down to Niagara Falls. They'd have different things that the family could do during the day, so that they didn't have to just stand there and watch their man-eat balls for about 5 hours. And that became a huge turning point. They had creches put in, right? And they never had any daycare or children thing before that.
What were they like?
Oh, yeah, I was in there. That's where Allenby banished me to. Right, you're in, great. Yeah. So no, but point is, but getting back to the family thing, I think they started to realise how important family is, rather than just a golf tournament. But the Masters have been doing that for a long time. They've really always had family at the forefront forever and ever, and the par 3 highlights it. But there's a lot more that they do as well. They allow families in and around clubhouses like you're not normally allowed to do that at other places. So, yeah, awesome. I love it.
Now, one other thing that happened that was a hit, and particularly a hit for you. No, not that one. But the commentators started to talk about something that Kippa thought that he had a little bit exclusively.
Well, I've had me one talking topic taken from me. Gone. Nick Faldo stole my wind tunnels. That's what's happened. So, yeah, no, I can't never go to a sportsman night and talk about them anymore. Gone.
So just to reiterate what that was.
Yeah, for those of you out there that have no idea what I'm talking about, years ago I was told by Tony Navarro that there was wind tunnels at Tony Navarro was Greg Norman's main caddy. There was wind tunnels on really 11, 12 and 13 at Augusta that come down the 10th fairway and 11th fairway and 13th fairway, accumulating onto the 12th kind of tee box and green, causing all sorts of weird air conveyances, puffs of air, gusts of air bouncing back off the trees and so on and so forth. So anyway, I've been banging on about this for the nearer part of 20 years. No one listens. But Faldo mentions it a few times on TV and gets all the kudos for it. Well, you're 20 years late, Faldo. Sorry. I've been banging on about this forever.
And then they all jumped on Kippa. Then it was like they'd all known it forever.
Everyone.
Then you got Nobilo saying, oh, yeah, that'll be the wind that's puffing up the 13th trees. And you could almost hear his neck craning to look at Faldo going, is that what I was meant to be saying?
The dagger in my heart every time I heard it. I was like, that's my bloody story. So, yeah, no. Anyway, it's gone forever. It'll be known as the Faldo wind tunnels from now on.
That's right. Not the Kippa tunnels.
Oh, no.
Although there were drink cards there plenty, I'm sure, in your day. Now, just to speak a little bit about the winner, here's something that I learnt from the Masters, going into the Masters, and with my outstanding tips. I don't think one of my tips has made the cut yet. You
Mine are lucky to tee it up.
Don't flirt with form or back against it, because winning's a habit. And when you look at his run and you look at the number of weeks between, I don't know whether you saw that stat, number of weeks between first win and becoming known in the number 1 in the world was 42, I think, for Scheffler versus Tiger at, I'll misquote the number, so don't yell at me, but 160 plus. Yeah. Whereas Scheffler's just gone bang, 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 bang. It's an amazing run, isn't it?
Well, I think like you sort of heard of him a little bit, but not really, because everyone would have probably got his name confused with Schauffele and the other one. It's all. Oh yeah, I think that's it. I think that's him. But my God, to jump out of the box, literally 6 or so weeks ago and do what he's done. It's quite. I think everyone's enjoying it because it's like, who's this nobody? Now he's not a nobody. I mean, he's been a Ryder Cup player. He's been a hell of a player. I think they were saying he's won 96 tournaments as a junior, so he's obviously a jet for a long, long time. But to jump up and take hold of every event that he's played in and not lose one yet, he hasn't been in contention and lost one. So that's a fighting trait, isn't it? Where you kind of are over the line every time. It's unprecedented in a lot of ways, what he's doing.
In fact, it marries up closely. It is largely unprecedented, but it marries up. The wins marry up to what Freddie did, and it was almost the events. I think there was one event different in the 4-win streak between he and Fred.
Freddie was a jet. He was number one in the world at that point, wasn't he, or something? Before
he was, and I think that's the other point is that a lot of the smart commentators, of which I'm not one, have spoken about Scheffler, one win, one breakthrough will open floodgates. And I think someone actually said that Phoenix, that it'll take one win and it'll change everything, because the Ryder Cup set him on the path. And then even the PGA that Kayo won, got him that belief that he could compete. But the idea so this is under the topic of hard work pays off. And this was a tweet that I saw from A Case of the Golf One, for anyone who wants to, at A Case of the Golf One. Zalatoris and Scheffler, 4 years ago, both shot 66 in a pre-queue for a web.com event, the Utah Championship, and missed out. So that's 4 years ago for Scheffler and Zalatoris, two of the hottest players on the planet. So if anyone's wondering, sitting there crying to themselves about, I don't know whether I've still got it in me, I don't know whether I can persevere. 4 years, that's...
Well, that's the thing about golf. I've coached some juniors and some up-and-comers, and I use the line that David Ledbetter gave to me, which was, I remember asking Ledbetter directly in about year 2001. I said, Dave, do you think I've got what it takes? And his response was, well, how long are you going to give it? And I said, well, I don't know. I said, I haven't really put a time on it. I'll just keep going. There's no real time on it. And he goes, well, then undoubtedly, yes. He said, you'll get there to some extent. He goes, whether you're playing, against the greatest players in the world on the best stage in the world, or whether you're, just a club pro or whatever, you will make a profession out of this. And as a little kid, I was like, oh, right, okay, so just stick at it. That's kind of what the mantra was. Well, I've asked that question to all of these people that I've coached over the journey now, and I would say 90-odd% of them have a definitive date on it. So I'll say, they go, can I make it, D's? And I'm like, well, how long are you going to give it? And they're like, oh, look, 3 years. I'm going to really go hard for 3 years. And I just answer, no, you're not. And they just look at me. And they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, well, golf is a lifelong journey. It's not 3 years. It's 60 years. It's 70 years. It's however long you live for, because if the minute you take your foot off the pedal, you're done. I said, you only have to look at the greatest, like, your Normans and your Tigers. They all had slumps. They all had to keep grinding, and they're 30s and 40-year-olds, out there trying to find their game again. You never, ever, ever stop in this game. So I look at those guys. You mentioned Zalatoris and Scheffler being there close at 4 years ago. Well, it could be another 4 years where Scheffler finds he can't hit it again for some reason, and he'll have to start the grind again. Like, it is a never-ending beast, this game, and don't give yourself a time limit, because it's a game for life.
And the other point of that, and that's really well said, I think the other point about that is something you bang on a lot about, and I don't want to give you any credit, but I'm having to today. It's like the Kipper Appreciation Show.
You could give me a backhander any minute. I know that's coming, so that's all right.
For everyone other than me to swing your swing. Mm-hmm. So Scheffler, there were all these people, and what I love is Faldo. Oh, you could see his feet moved a little bit more there. Like, crap, you could. But he just owns it, and he owns the fact. And even when he was hitting his draws or trying to, which one became a block cut into the trees that somehow spun back out of the pine straw just when Cam was putting him under the pump, because the golf gods sometimes shine more on some than others. But he didn't care that anyone was looking at it going, geez, you're having to fight pretty hard to hit a draw.
Yeah.
So this is what I got to do.
I just hope Felder doesn't turn into like your Johnny Miller, where every time they hit a bad shot, he'll tell you why that was a bad shot, but it was exactly the same as the one before it. So what he's done there, he's externally rotated that arm. Oh no, it's terrible.
Yeah.
No, Johnny,
that's what quicker with the hands there.
No, Johnny, it was the same thing he did in every other shot. So yeah, the footwork is no different when he hits a bad shot to a good shot. It's got nothing to do with it. It's just quite amazing to watch. It really is, and that draw swing. I was actually coaching yesterday, and I had one of my clients go, what would you do with that guy to try to make him hit draws? I said, I wouldn't do anything, mate. I just literally stand at least 10 foot back, because you just never know where that follow through is going to finish. That's about it. That shot he hits on 13 where he tries to sling it. If I was caddying for him, because I already was, my heart was in my mouth watching him. Like, I wanted Cam to win, but I'm like, this thing looks like it could go anywhere. Like, it could go 20 metres off the tee, hard left. It's an amazing, take the Mickey swing, isn't it, when he's trying to pull or hit a little draw. It's awesome to watch.
But he owns it. He doesn't care
absolutely.
whether Feldo's wondering about having to rip the hands low and high, and obviously on that, this angle and that angle.
Yeah.
Because he just owns it and says, that's what I've got to do. And I've done it before. Like, that is not the first time he's ever had to learn how to hit a draw.
There's a few players I can remember kind of like that. And two come really to mind. If you get a chance, people listening, go and have a look at Jim Thorpe. Amazing ball striker. Went berserk on the PGA Seniors Tour when he got on it. Incredible ball striker. Unbelievable, swing and follow through to it kind of looks like he's taken a Mickey again. And one of the greatest of all time in Bernard Langer, his follow through at times. Just looks like he's missed the fairway by about 18 kilometres, and right down the middle. I love unique actions. They're brilliant.
There's a little bit of Leighton Hewitt in that Langer thing of just trying to hit that forehand passing shot, isn't there? There's just but it's whatever. But it's whatever works, and that was the coolest thing. And then the other thing I loved about Scheffler, he never got flustered. So you look at some people with their cheeks, and I'm not going to refer back to Norman, but you look at Norman in pretty well every major where it wasn't already in the bag, and he starts to get a little bit more flushed. And you look at other people who hit bad shots and they get flushed. Scheffler hit a snap hook into the trees on 18, looking to carry a 4-shot lead into the final round. And you look at his face and it's sort of like,
It's quite amazing, really, because he clearly gets enormously nervous. I mean, his press conference, as we mentioned earlier, he's talking about the nerves so much so he was going to throw up. But his ability to stay in the moment up until that last putting green course was quite amazing, and it has been amazing like the whole time. So he clearly, further to your point before, he knows how to win, and therefore he stays in his bubble, stays in his lane, does what he needs to, and he might be feeling the nerves, but he clearly doesn't show them, a bit like the old Pete Sampras or Federer. Just doesn't show anything much, but he obviously is feeling it. But incredible ability to harness your emotions.
Absolutely, and I think for me the last couple of major hits was the fight in Cam Smith, the fight in Tiger. So I don't want to make it all about Tiger because Cam will have his successes. Minwoo Lee and Augusta are going to become lifelong friends. I don't have any doubt about that, and I believe the same for Cam Davis and the Aussie guys. The Tiger thing, though, the interview he did after the second round, where you could just, how's the pain?
Yeah.
It reminded me of the kids' movie, and I always go back to this, Big Hero 6. How do you rate your pain? He would have been sitting there going, a 10's not high enough. He looked like a guy who was in some.
Yeah. Look, as I said, I'm not sure where it's going to head over the next few months. I'm hoping that now that he's actually been able to play, which we never thought we might see again, the fact that he actually was able to play a major make a cut in a major, somewhat contend up until Saturday is incredible in itself. Considering he missed the cut, like you're talking, he's beating guys that are supposed to be best players in the world, and he hasn't played for 500 odd days. So the guy's a freak. There is no doubt about that. I just hope it gets progressively better for him. I hope he can enjoy it more, and of course all of us hope we hope that there is some sort of contention in a major or a tournament in the future. We may never see that, but I think there's that part of us, that little kid in us, that's like, geez, it'd be good. We just can never get enough of it.
And we had the great news that he has basically declared that he's going to St Andrews. My favourite track, 150th anniversary. I'm not missing it. Like, I'll miss everything else, but I'm not missing that, which I just love.
He's not the type of guy, he said it a million times, that goes to a tournament and thinks, I'm just going to make up the numbers and just waltz around here. But it might be the one time in his life that he starts to feel like that's okay as well. Yeah. I did think that. I thought, Saturday when he started to blow up, and only from the 3-putts really, but and then Sunday was the walk of just, the walk of grace and fun really was Sunday, that he would have never really had that ever. On Sunday, any other time, even if he's 10 or 15 back, he'd be like, let's shoot a course record and see what happens. But he knew that wasn't possible with his game and everything. So it would have been one of the first times in his life he's playing a competitive round of golf and just gone, well, I'm out here for a Sunday stroll and I'm going to enjoy it. So that might almost be the swan song over the next bit of his journey, that, yes, he wants to win, he's going to try to win, maybe he gets his body and everything back to being able to win, but if it isn't, I think he'll actually start to enjoy playing and soaking up some of this adulation that is really deserved. So that might be a nice way that he kind of, evolves over the next 5 or 10 years as well, playing some of these events and in the back of his mind wanting to win, but it doesn't. If it doesn't work out, it's okay.
Yeah, I agree with that. Now, lastly, just to finish off, standout moment. The standout moment for me was what I reckon was the best 4-putt ever. Was just because the emotion. One, it made me feel good, but secondly, because you could just feel, to your point about the press conferences and talking about the tears and wanting to throw up and all these other things, that it was just finally a release. It's like, just hold it in because I just need to get it in the hole. Tap it in. But it was just pure, raw, emotional release of, this is what happens if I don't concentrate, which actually highlighted exactly how awesome he was in the first place. And that's what it takes to win a Masters.
Yeah. Well, it is. And also with the 4-putt, I think there was only, I reckon anyway, 1 putt that was dodgy. The rest were actually pretty good putts. The first 3 were decent. The first 2 were decent. The third one, that was definitely nerve-driven. Wee outside the right edge of the bit of a stab. But that 4th putt, when Teddy walks in, gives him a bit of a cuddle and says, "All right, mate, now seriously, just tap the bloody thing in, will you?" Yeah. He stood over that. His pre-shot routine on those putts was, I reckon it was double as long. He just stood over that little 1.5 footer, and I'm like, please hit it. Just please hit it. Because there's part of me that's like, don't tell me this is going to be one of the great capitulations of all time. Anyway, he finally hits that 4th putt, and it goes right in the back. And yeah, it was well deserved. But geez, he would have had some moments there where, like, hang on, this is I'm in Twilight Zone here. What's going on?
I love Max Homer's comment of, if ever you were going to have a 6-putt to win an event just so you could say you did, this was your opportunity. It was a very Mo Norman moment. Anyway, I thought it was a fantastic end to a great event. Did you have any standout moments from the Masters week, Kippa?
Look, it was nothing to do with the Masters. Standout was for the Barons. We engulfed the airways. That was my standout on Sunday morning. We were on 3 channels, all across 9. We're on 9 Gem. We're on 9 now, and we're on the Today Show. So, yeah, that was for me a moment for us. Kudos to all the team. Don't know how we pulled that off, but you almost couldn't avoid us, Phil.
But yet I still managed to. And with typical humility, we'll bring this Masters Wrap podcast to a close. Thanks to all our Barons for listening. Remember, you can subscribe on golfbarons.com to keep up to date with all podcasts and show updates. Season 3 literally is just around the corner. Thanks, Kippa, for joining us with our Masters Wrap.
Pleasure, mate. And we'll speak to you soon.
And until next time, Barons, add some swagger to your swing.